or generative pre-trained transformer, is a chatbot. Think about it like this. If you're a mathematician or a science educator, an English teacher, or whatever, you have to input something into an equation, for example, in order to get an output. So when you put something in, there's an expectation to get something out. Simple explanation, you put in bread in a toaster, you want toast as the output. So it's only as good as what you put into it. So if you put in a Pop-Tart, the expectation is you're going to get a toasted Pop-Tart, not bread. So ChatGPT is a language model that takes in a string of text as input and generates a response as output. The input can be a prompt or question, and the output is a continuation of the input in the form of a sentence or a paragraph, or even an equation, a lesson plan, or a syllabus, for example. Now, the model is trained on a large data set of human-generated text and uses the data to generate responses that are similar to those that a human might produce. The output is generated using a process called conditional text generation, where the model prediction are conditioned on the input it receives. So it's conditional. So think about this. Anything that you put in, if you ask it to, hey, write me a paragraph about the latest Dancing with the Stars episode, for example, it'll write you a paragraph. Now that's very simple. If you asked it to teach you the introduction to calculus, it probably would do it. So you think about what the input is, and now the learning model is exponential. So you take something and then you put it in, and there's this expectation to have an output. So I'm going to give you an example as an educator. As a science teacher, one of the things that I loved to do was labs. Now, sometimes they were messy labs, and sometimes they were a little bit neater. And I loved working with molecule kits. And I loved creating a molecular structure for students. So maybe if you are a teacher and you're an elementary teacher and science isn't your background, you might want to ask it, what's the best way to make simple molecular structures using the periodic table for grade 3? What's the best way to teach the periodic table to students in grade 4? You could ask it this and it would give you output. Then you can say, now let's elaborate on that. Tell me a lesson plan that would go along with the previous question or statement. ChatGPT is smart enough to do that. Now you have to remember that it is still a prototype, that it's not perfect. It's learning from us and with us. So take some time and play with it and ask it some questions. Now, of course, I can say, write me a chapter of a book for whatever topic, but it's not necessarily my voice. It's the coder's voice. So I might want to say, write me an outline for a chapter using these peer-reviewed articles. And then I take that outline, because now it has organized it in a flow that might really work. I take that outline and then I go and start writing a paper or a chapter. Now, ChatGPT is only limited at this point to what you ask it. So if it's a simple question, write me a blog about whatever, it will write you a blog about whatever. But if you ask it to create a lesson plan, maybe on a student's IEP goals, a specific one for a specific grade, and then you add the disability, what do you think it would do for you? I am fully intrigued by the input and the output of what ChatGPT can do for teachers, what it can do for parents, and what it can do for students. Just today, I had a conversation with someone about ChatGPT, And he said that his daughter was practicing for an exam. Now, she was all worked up over it. And she said it's a multiple choice exam, and she was working really hard to study. She had all these notes. So he said, send me the notes. He took the notes, put them in ChatGPT, and said, create me an exam for a 10, 11, 12-year-old using this criteria and for this subject area. And it created an exam. Now, he said it was quite simple. He said, recreate the exam and make it more difficult. And it did it. He sent it to his daughter and said, here's your study guide. The sky, imagination is the limit. And we know Einstein said that, imagination is more powerful than knowledge. But I would say also that your imagination can grab the knowledge, and we can change the dynamic of how we are learning. You don't want it to do the work for you, but certainly we can let ChatGPT do the work with us. So have fun and play around with ChatGPT. Oh my gosh. Play around, have fun with ChatGPT.